What's going on, YouTube? Metal Complex here. I'm gonna put me back over here. I'm about to puke. What's going on, YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today we're gonna be taking a look at, oh my gosh, seriously, excuse me, so much new stuff at DLT. There's so much to talk about. A couple of things here. Number one, I'm recording this on Wednesday, so there's actually 2 additional days of updates in their inventory since I've recorded this. I'm sorry about that. I'm pre-recording it earlier than I normally would for a video like this because our weekend suddenly became much busier and this is out of necessity. But there's enough here that it's worth talking about, and if there ends up being even more, then you'll have even more to look at. I'm going to link these pages down in the description so that you guys can check them out. Look at them if you want to. If you don't want to listen to me talk about it, fine. They'll be linked down there for your convenience. But if you want to hear what I have to say, then stick around. Thanks to my patrons for supporting me. Number one, big drop this morning. I say this morning, Wednesday morning. It's Wednesday, right? Surely. I can't, it's anymore. Oh my gosh, I lose track of days. This is definitely one of the coolest Hinderer drops in a long time. Now, let me tell you something. DLT, I've always said, is the biggest retailer for Hinderer knives in terms of the number that they get. DLT seems to get way more of these things than anybody else. They also seem to do the most exclusives. This No Choil Warncliffe is an exclusive. How do I know that they got a ton? Because the moment that 10 a.m. hit on my phone, which was when these dropped, people who used my affiliate link, like I get notifications that say, you know, somebody who used your affiliate link bought one. Within the first minute, there were 19 notifications. 19. Okay, that means there's a lot of these. Now, I'm guessing that by Saturday, right, they probably ordered enough that people could actually get their hands on them. There's only a couple of variations that are sold out, and it's 10:48. It's only been 48 minutes since these things dropped. I would guess that DLT bought enough of these or ordered enough of these that if you want one and it's Saturday morning, there's probably at least still a few variations left, right? Or maybe not. Maybe they're gone. I don't know. It's hard to tell because it's only 48 minutes past the drop. But these are super cool. It's a Warncliffe with no choil, right? Now, for some people, it's going to be a little bit of a bummer to have to sharpen this area back here. But if you absolutely hate the forward choil that comes on a standard XM18, then this might be the answer for you. It's CPM 20 CV. As far as I understand, it's a Peters heat treat, and their heat treat protocols are 5961. Not everybody loves that, but the knife is super duper cool, and it's that standard Hinderer modularity. That's a word, right? It's a lot of syllables. Anything more than 3 syllables is going to throw me for a loop. But yeah, it's going to have all of that standard Hinderer modularity. 165,000 standard thickness. It's a 3.5 inch to the standard flagship model. It's not the small one, not the big one. It's the medium-sized one. And I have a feeling that people are really going to enjoy these. So I wanted to point them out. If they're still there, if you've never picked up a Hinderer knife, is this a version that I would recommend? Absolutely. And if you're a collector, the no choil stuff, anybody who's a Hinderer collector will back me up on this. The DLT Trading no choil variants usually retain their value very, very well over the course of a long period of time. So just keep that in mind if you're a collector. Let's move into new arrivals because holy cannoli. I'm running out of words that I can combine with cannoli. But we have a lot of new arrivals to actually talk about here. So, sorry, I was trying to get to the page where the new arrivals actually popped up. These are cool. The Combat Troodon Gen 3 Interceptor is cool. I just don't understand why Microtech thinks Interceptor blade mean 275 more. Like, why? It's not 275. What are these standard? 450, 425, something like that? If you like the Combat Troodon, buy one with a regular blade, because the Interceptor blade is just more saucy. It's got some saucy. It's, you know, it's not just ketchup. It's ketchup with mayonnaise mixed in. It's fancy sauce. If you love the Interceptor blade, go for it, but just get a regular one. It's an awesome knife. This, everybody keeps asking me about this. Is ZT sending it to me? I think so. They told me that they were, so maybe it's just not here yet. I don't know. This does look really cool. I really wish that they had made this bigger. This is on the right track, and I know that ZT knows that there's this huge community of people screaming and pleading for them to make bigger knives. I don't know why they're like, here's how. What if we made one more small knife? Would that be acceptable? It's not small. It's like, dude, ZT, just 8.25, man. Like, that was, it's fine. This actually does look really cool, and I think, I mean, it truthfully is an incredibly classic blade profile, right? I mean, you could take the ZT logo, remove it, and put anybody's logo on there, and it would be a knife, right? But it's a button lock. It's a ZT button lock, which is cool, and they've never done it before. S45VN, full titanium, made in the USA. People are going to complain about this price tag because you can get S45VN in titanium from other companies made in China that cost less. And that's true, you can. But like I just coughed, it's because they're made in China, right? You can buy Kershaw knives that cost less and are made in the United States, but they are not utilizing titanium. As much as people don't like to account for these things, they do definitely matter. Let's remember that if this were a Benchmade, it would be a $500 knife. This is $340. I think the price, it stings a bit, but I don't think that it's like, oh my gosh, this is outrageous. It makes sense considering this is a U.S. production knife utilizing titanium and S45VN, right? I don't think the price is atrocious, but it is definitely high. It's higher than ZT used to be, but when we compare with what ZT used to be, usually we're reaching way back to about 2016, which was 9 years ago. Ugh, that stung me just as much as it stung you. Rainbow! Is that a Kershaw? Kind of want that. Not even gonna lie. Not gonna lie. Oh, man. It's kind of cool. Rainbow PVD. Really? It's PVD, huh? Okay. Kind of need some rainbow PVD on the high end. Who's with me? Let's get some high-end knives that are gas station versions of gas station knives that are supposed to represent what the custom knife world looks like. Let's just go ahead and do multi-layer irony here. I'm all for it. Why not? It's already buried in too many confusing layers. I think it would be really, really funny if knife makers and knife designers just sort of start to unravel from the foundation of reality, start to unravel the entire idea behind what people say and what they mean and what they think they mean when they say gas station knife. Let's go ahead and what's the movie where they're in the spaceship and they push the button and it takes them to alternate realities and they turn into yarn? Let's do that with the term gas station knife. Why not? Kershaw Mini Iridium Reverse Tanto, kind of cool. I have this here, and the longer I've had it in hand, the more I have actually enjoyed it. I don't like brown and the whole spectrum of brown when it comes to a knife. That's just my least favorite color. But something about these, I called it poop, and somebody said it's not fair to call it poop. You should call it earthy something or other. And okay, so earthy tones, or poop tones, whatever you want to call it here. It's growing on me a lot. The more I handle this knife, the more I flip it out, the more I really like it. This is, I mistakenly said that the internal liner, or the liner underneath the micarta scale, was titanium. I believe it's actually steel, but this side is legitimately titanium, which is cool and very unlike what we normally see, in automatic knives. It would make sense that they did the liner steel. The impact of that blade, and repeatedly, because it's firing a lot harder than the average person is going to flip a knife, and the impact, it's better for steel or aluminum than it is for titanium, or at least that's the way that I understand it. So that makes sense to me. Either way, this is cool. The coating, I believe, is a Cerakote. It looks black here. It's actually a chocolatey, poopy brown, if you will. Maybe somebody who's been drinking a lot of red wine. Yeah, Crewwear, that's cool. I mean, this is a super cool auto. $320. It's not back to where, ZT used to be, but again, it's closer. ZT is inching. I feel like ZT is aware that the community is trying to communicate with them, but their releases seem to be like it's like they're aliens and they're trying to make sense of like long distance signals and bleeps and bloops, and they're like, I think what they want. We're like, can you make bigger knives? And they're like, I think if I'm hearing this correctly, what they want is micarta and a brown coated crewware blade. like, yeah, it's cool, and like maybe they, I don't know if they made this slightly larger than a lot of their recent releases because people were asking for it, or if it just happened to be larger because that's just what their internal design team decided to do. But they seem very reluctant to make things much bigger than this. So I wish that this was a little bit bigger, but it is closer. Right? I'll give them credit for that. The Kindred, is that a... Hold on. I just realized that like there's so much more to talk about here. I didn't get this one. Is this a button lock or is it an auto? Oh, it's a button lock. Okay. I didn't get this. Why didn't you send this to me, Kai? This looks cool. For a Kershaw, right? I mean, this is a Kershaw $60 knife. Aluminum, 7.2 inches, D2. Don't mind that price tag. Want to see it. Want to hold it. Want to touch it. The Launch Iridium. I have this. Why is this 180? Is that the actual price of that? Okay. Seems high. I could have sworn it wasn't that high when I looked at it. It is a good knife. What's the steel? MagnaCut. Okay. Yeah, it's cool. I just, 180. Gosh. It's still less than a ProTech. I mean, the average aluminum and MagnaCut ProTech is what? 220? Something like that. So, okay. I want to address the ZT Kershaw thing. There are so many people, and I know that some of you that I have talked specifically with about this understand this, right? But there are some people who are just like, if the Kershaw logo is on it, it needs to cost less. And if the ZT logo is on it, it needs to cost more, regardless of materials. That's incorrect. They're made by the same company. The Kershaw knives cost less, not because when they stamp Kershaw on the blade, a genie comes out and goes, doop-de-doop-de-doop, it costs less. No, it's because it is made in a way that costs less. Now, you could say that the ZT knives create more opportunity for markup, but they also absolutely cost more to make because they are machining titanium. And here comes... Guy who is a machinist enters the chat. That's every time I say that, there's some guy who's like, I'm a machinist and it doesn't cost that much money. It definitely does. All things considered, it definitely does cost substantially more money to precision mill titanium when you're talking about a batch of knives, right? And all of the costs associated with doing this, and then considering costs and potential markup from a company that is trying to make a good knife and also trying to make money. Yes, it absolutely does cost more money. All those things, right? But yeah, the ZT knives cost more for a number of factors. And the fact that ZT is on one blade and Kershaw's on the other makes no difference. If you were to create exactly this knife and just call it a Kershaw, it would still end up being $320. I find it funny that some people will assume things like that. But anyways, all I accomplish is people wanting to argue with me. These attention to detail knives do look interesting. I just remember, I say this every time I look at one, I just remember that one that I experienced having lock rock, and it really bummed me out. I love the double-edged Scarab 2 blades. Love them. Do they have any that aren't blue? They seem to have chosen blue for the launch of this blade style, and then they're like, it's blue. Can you guys make a black one? I would buy another one. Whole bunch of H-frame Marauders. Are these are S45VN? Let's find out. I love the look of this one. Oh, that's MagnaCut. Okay. Any word on Medford's MagnaCut? Have they decided to increase the HRC range? Last I heard, it was pretty low, but I haven't heard anything here recently. I also want to talk about these. I have a new Gen. This is a Gen 3 Sonora. It is as close to perfect as, I mean, I can't believe they have actually improved this knife from version 2. Version 1 was a super nice knife, and I still have my V1. It was a super nice knife, and I said, you know, the detent could be a little bit better, and there's a couple little fit and finish things. Then they sent me a V2, which I gave away at my 600,000 subscriber giveaway, and I considered that essentially perfect. These V3s are even better. The action is impossibly smooth. Impossible. Whatever you think is smooth action, I believe you, but this is smoother. It's incredible. Why is it so much money? Because this is a small batch semi-custom, not a production knife, not a ZT knife, not a Kershaw knife, not a Benchmade knife, not a Spyderco knife. You're in a different tier. This is also an integral, meaning one piece of titanium. This costs more money to do, and I know that most of you know this, but there are a ton of people who are not aware or they don't care about it. If you're not aware of it, a one-piece integral frame is more money than making the exact same knife. It costs substantially more money than making the exact same knife with two pieces of titanium and a backspacer. It's 100%. It costs substantially more money because you're milling that whole block out, inside and out, right? It's also a lot more risky. If you don't care about it, if you're like, yeah, I know, I just don't care about it, that's okay. It still costs more money, right? They can't make it cost less because you don't care about it. It costs more money, right? So something like this, small batch, and then you have your hand fitment. You have, I believe these are all hand sharpened, which, by the way, this wider edge out here, this is on purpose. It's the same way on both sides, and it is mirror polished, right? The other thing, you can't really see it, but the blade has texturing on it. They give this option now to have your blade textured, right? So some of these are super cool. I wonder if it actually says here. Probably not. But yeah, some of these have texturing on the blade, which is awesome. But anyways, it's a semi-custom. This extra human attention to detail, right? Not a machine going and spitting them out like that. That would be how Spyderco knives are made. Still expensive, but that's what's happening there. This is not. This is a machine cutting parts, them physically checking and hand fitting them, hand tuning them. Sometimes doing, you know, special or custom finish work. These will be way more expensive. When all of those things are considered, $750 for a USA-made semi-custom integral hyper premium. It's actually one of the best priced knives in its tier on earth. And I know that that sounds like a crazy statement to some people, but if you know what apples to apples comparisons are, this is amazing. It's not just, this is incredible. It's an incredible knife. And if I'm not saying that everybody in the whole world has to own one, but if you're shopping in this tier, right? You're shopping Brown knives, you're shopping Koenig knives, you're shopping Holt knives, right? Same tier. These are incredible, and I think they outclass them considering they are integral knives. If you don't like button locks, you don't like the profile, perfectly fine. But for people shopping at this price point, you should be taking a look and at least considering the Machine-Wise Sonora. Boy, I love that blade. I hate the Tanto, but I love this Baker Forged blue to copper Mai. It's a copper Damascus that's been, it's like gun bluing essentially. This would not be a good material, you know, I mean, it'll work fine, but in terms of like performance, it's almost immediately outclassed by essentially like basic super steels. But it is very, very cool. Like collectors will love that. I also like the ray inserts here. But man, if they had this, but it was a double edge, I might, that would be something that I would buy. This is, it's a limited edition MagnaCut Livewire from Kershaw. $214 is, I think you're stealing it from them at $214. This is an incredible pocket knife. Absolutely. Kind of like the American flag on there right there. I think it kind of looks cool. But yeah, it's easily worth that. That's one of the best truly USA built dollar for dollar OTFs on the market. Nano Shark. Fun knife. I actually have it right here because I've been carrying it. Fun knife. Shouldn't be 230. It should be probably about 180, 170. But they've chosen 230, so that's what it is. I also really like the DLC, or I'm sorry, the Tactile Mariner, which is the Bob Terzuola design from a long time ago. Super cool knife. Pretty pricey, but it's a cool knife. Is that a... Man. I mean, it will work. It just looks like stitches. It just looks like a great way. You're tempting fate here. It will work. But it's a slip joint, right? Yeah. Handle material says titanium. That looks like wood. Maybe it's titanium that's meant to look like wood. I don't know. Or maybe it's just wrong. Oh my gosh. Yeah, it'll do it. You're tempting fate so many ways. Like, it's pushing against the back, like the spine stop. So it'll lift a bottle cap. But let's assume that your beverage is something non-alcoholic that still requires a bottle opener, right? You still have a chance to nick the edge on the glass bottle, which will chip most blades if you hit it hard enough, right? Most people are going to be consuming alcoholic beverages if they're going to be utilizing this knife as their primary bottle opener, which means as you progress through the evening, your ability to do this properly degrades. So with each drink, you become probably exponentially more likely to either damage the knife, yourself, or both. Fun idea, though. There's the XMs. Boy, they're way back there from the first page. They must have dropped a ton of stuff. I thought that these were cool, right? This is the knife. You know, somebody was emailing me and saying the Machine-Wise Sonora is incredibly overpriced. Like, look what Dead Reckin can do with the Ridgeback. It's an aluminum integral. It's not a titanium integral. Still extremely cool. Definitely, right? And if you don't care about titanium, then yeah, definitely. Here's the other thing that's happening. This is not contoured, and it is substantially less complex to machine and less costly to machine than the Sonora. Even if this were titanium, it's nowhere near as complex and you know, like all the little tiny fine details like the texturing and the contouring, right? All of that. The Machine-Wise Sonora is going to have a lot more precision detail. But this is still a cool knife. It's not going to be worth it to everybody, but those details are important when you're considering the price tag. An aluminum integral is, especially one that is flat, not contoured, and doesn't have intricate micromilling. Of course, that's going to be substantially less expensive, for sure. Lynch Northwest Spyderco Standard Modular Clip. Oh, somebody left a 3-star review. Let's read it. These are always good. Hold on. Lynch Northwest Spyderco Standard Modular Clip V2. Let's read. The second iteration of the fully milled 2-piece clip designed by Casey from Lynch Northwest, sorry, thought there was a period there, is crafted to fit a wide range of Spyderco knives with their standard clip hole pattern. I'm having trouble with periods today. Compatible with popular models like the Spyderco Standard Long and PM2 clips. This clip offers a versatile solution for upgrading your carry setup. Blah, 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 blah. Blah, 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 blah. Here's the review. Jared M. Finish is gorgeous. 5-star for the product. 1-star for the listing. Should put which models are incompatible on the listing. Frustrating. Doesn't fit. Not worth returning. Not worth returning. We'll use some other time. It doesn't fit the ZT0640 because it's not for ZT knives. God, I swear. Jared, whoever you are, this is one of the dumbest things I have ever read. Should put what it's not compatible with. Listen, Lynch Northwest, you guys need to list all of the knives in existence that this is not compatible with. I mean, what are you, of course. Why say what it is compatible with when you should be saying what it isn't compatible with? I mean, there's only 17 million other knives out there. How hard could it be? Come on, right? This is... You guys gotta work harder to satisfy your customers. Oh my God. Who is this? Ugh, I'm spitting. Who? Why? The people who leave reviews, why? Is it that there's a certain mindset with people that makes them more likely to leave reviews, and they are types of people who are not reading, or they're not... It seems like there's a huge percentage of the people who leave reviews who are incredibly, disconnected. Am I missing something? It doesn't say. It says it's for Spyderco. God. So dumb. Absolutely stupid. Wake up, Jared. All right. Let's move on here. I swear to God. I need to have you guys submit dumb reviews of knives. There are some absolute gold. You know what? My email is metalcomplex87@gmail.com. If you happen across a review of similar quality on a retail site, Blade HQ, there's some gold ones on Blade HQ, right? If you happen across a dumb review, there's something obviously stupid, like some bad take, or just it's obviously somebody not understanding and they're leaving a poor review on a product based on consumer error or something dumb, email it to me. I would love to do a compilation reading and reacting to those, because there are absolutely top tier liquid trash. But anyways. The breaker. Yes. This is the knife that sparked the bad plunge grind poll on my channel. I was making fun of a guy on Instagram, which, by the way, we had a conversation afterwards and he's fine. But I was making fun of a guy on Instagram because I posted this and he posted, "The plunge grind ruins it." And I responded with, "I think that's a bit dramatic." And this continued on, and he had his stance. And I kept making jokes about studying at Juilliard and some other... I was being a dickhead. This has never been an issue for me, but I don't sharpen a lot. I mean, it comes down to whether or not, you're using your knives enough to require constant sharpening. And somebody who's sharpening a ton is probably going to be bothered by a plunge grind like this. Functionally, the knife will continue to function no matter what. I mean, you can sharpen back to a certain point, and you'll certainly be okay. It can make this area ugly, and it can be exponentially more frustrating as you continue to sharpen up into here. Apparently, it can also crack stones, which is another issue that people have. And so I polled this to find out how people feel in general about bad plunge grinds. And it turns out 40%, at least of my audience, it is an important issue to them, and 60% of people it isn't. I think it's more common that people are like me and simply are not using or sharpening knives enough to have to remove enough material for this to be a problem. But reading into the comments on the poll, I'm saying this right now because I don't have enough time to do a Knife Guy episode about this topic on my channel this weekend, but I will do it next weekend. But I left the first option as yes, it bothers me, and just kept it vague, because I figured that would incentivize people going down into the comments and explaining what it is about bad plunge grinds that bother them. That way we get some context. And then I left 3 other options. No, it doesn't bother me. I've never really thought about it, was the third option. And the fourth option was, what is a plunge grind, which was, I think, 14 or 15% of people. So I knew specifically what the no, I don't care would be, but when I dug into the comments, which are still there, this is in my community tab. When I dug into the comments, unsurprisingly, a bad plunge grind bothers people for a number of different reasons. Sometimes it's purely aesthetic reasons. Sometimes it's functional stuff with sharpening, and sometimes it's both. But there's a lot of different reasons, and it certainly is not something that is immediately applicable to everybody. If you are sharpening constantly, like Jared and I talked about this actually for a long time, and Jared sharpens all the time. So it makes perfect sense to me that a bad plunge grind would bother him, right? But somebody like me who sharpens a knife maybe twice a year and rotates knives constantly, I'm not really going to notice this, right? So it's an interesting thing to talk about, and I'll elaborate more when we do the Knife Guy episode about it. But I think, yeah, like I just want to say openly, like it's obviously not going to bother somebody like me because I don't do a lot of sharpening, plain and simple. But the breaker itself is an incredible knife. I love tough knives, right? Again, even with this being considered a bad plunge grind by people who do sharpen and remove a lot of material from their blades, something I want to point out, something that is true no matter what, is that doesn't make this knife non-functional. It just makes this area back here obnoxious to people who are going to use it so heavily that they would need to remove a lot of material. But the rest of the blade, which is the other 95 to 99%, is perfectly fine and will be for the duration of its life. But I like the design of this. As a design reviewer and not somebody who gets into the weeds of all of that, I love the design of this. I think this is such a cool knife, and I love Jeff Blavart's. He's going to make fun of me if he sees this. His last name is so hard to pronounce. The owner of Tough Knives. I love his designs. I love his breaker design. I thought it was really cool to see a collaborative effort between Tough Knives and Vanguard Knives to bring this to the production knife world. It is super cool. I actually own 2 of these. It is awesome. These are in Magna Cut as well, and I think they're also up there in 62, 63 range. I think, unconfirmed though. Yeah, the injection mold MSIs they've found ways to sneak those up over 200, which is unsurprising. The Free Reign is such an awesome knife. I wish they'd do more USA ones. Velocity. Is this... Who designed this? Yeah, that's what I thought. What is the name here? Tashi Barucha, right? I'm sure that I butchered his name. Cool knife. Got some Riat Zerkatai on there, which always looks good. What else? PLXT. Is the PLXF... Or wait, PLXE? Oh, there's some Kunmu Django sitting here. That's cool. The PLXE is awesome. Everybody made fun of me for freaking out about that knife, but it's an awesome knife. Are these integral? No. Why are these so expensive? I'd have been pumped if this was a carbon fiber integral. I mean, I didn't think about it, like, because what would the locking system be, right? But for a moment there, I thought, this is a carbon fiber integral. Large Sebenza unique graphic. They do a lot of those. Boker AT. Tiger Stripe live wire. The Tiger Stripe is expensive. Holy crap. That must cost them a lot of money to do. I'm still going here. I'm just looking to see if there's anything else. Is this the amphibian? It's aluminum. That's a cool knife. I would way rather pay 100 plus more for the aluminum versions of the Ramlock than 200 for the injection mold, but that's just me. Hinder K-Bar, whatever, $615. What are you smoking, Hinder? Rick, this is a cool knife. Why is it as much as your XM24 or a full titanium XM18 3.5 inch? Why? What is special about this? No, it's a $300 knife. What the heck? I like Rick Hinderer knives. I'm a huge Hinderer fan. That's a ridiculous price for that. Ridiculous. There's always one guy who's going to pop in and say, fixed plate's way more durable. It is, but it's also way simpler to create. There's substantially less steps involved with creating a fixed blade than there is a folding knife, regardless of functionality. There's another one. Why are those so expensive? Huh. Okay. Are we back? Have we gotten to a point where I've seen all this stuff? Diamond texture. DLT's restock page has become less useful because they list their restocks with their new arrivals now. So there's usually, there's usually never anything hyper interesting on this page anymore. I suppose that makes sense, right? There's a natural clear. That's kind of cool. And so is that, actually. Okay, here's a couple. Large Subvention 31, but of course, these are... Okay, so this I consider to be a little bit of a ridiculously priced item. But this is a substantially better use of $600 and whatever dollars versus the Hinderer. Magnica, it's got the special finish on it, which you guys can't really see here. It's a glass bead blast. That's going to be a super impressive blade in person, right? I don't even like the Sebenza very much. Yeah, I feel like I would rather spend $650 on this. I kind of like the Apocalyptic handled stitch for $418. I think that's pretty cool. Yeah. This is such an awesome auto. Actually, I would be tempted to buy this if they didn't have this crap all over it. This freaking Dr. Seuss book that they've printed on the book. Does that say M390 and not M390 MK? Does it also say that it was made in 2023? This must be a stock image. What? If that actually is M390 and not M390 MK, that is rare. And it would make sense given that it's 2023. However, my guess would be you should call DLT if you're considering buying this one, so that they can clarify. It's probably a stock image from back in 2023 when they were still using M390 and had just started to do this apocalyptic handle and blade combination on the stitch. Work Sharp Professional Precision Adjust Knife Sharpener. That's super cool. I should pick one of those up and try it for myself. Because I still use my KME. I mean, when I need to sharpen a knife, which is very rare. The times I've run into the issue with the plunge, and it's probably because the worst scenario with me was just not with a bad plunge grind. That's probably why. But I remember sharpening a knife that I planned to use, and I ran it into that area, and it created that smile, and I was like, that's annoying. And then I just kept going. And it was fine. And it would probably continue to annoy me like the fourth or fifth time that I was sharpening the knife, and it would probably annoy me a lot more. But at the time, I was like, dang it. And that was it. But yeah, there's a lot of variation there depending on the knife and how much you sharpen and how much it bothers you and how deep you are into it, right? It's something that could potentially affect anybody, I think, but simply doesn't affect most people enough to make it worth talking about, right? But like if you're new to the knife world and you're hearing like bad plunge grinds, like make certain knives it's a deal breaker for some people, it's one of those things where you have to dig into understanding what it is, why it bothers people, and ask will it bother you, or will it even affect you? What type of user are you? How often do you sharpen? If you're the type of person who has never had to resharpen a knife, right, or never cared to, or you've only done it a few times over the course of multiple years or perhaps even multiple decades, then the answer is no, it won't bother you, right? So it is definitely, it's circumstantial, but the potential is there for everybody. All right, I got to save some of that for when we actually do the discussion. Anyways, that's going to be it today, guys. Oh my gosh, I've been here for 40 minutes. What is going on? This was a fun one. There's a lot of cool stuff. Anyways, that's going to be it. Hope you all enjoyed. Links in the description for all these pages. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on that Metal Complex logo right there and subscribe, because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.